Hi there. Good morning. Let me just check that sound's bouncing through. Uh, yeah, I just thought I'd do another little mountain news. It's going to be a very short one. Um, yeah, this week I managed to get back to work for a day. It was really good. I was working at Plasty Brennan. I was just delivering a one-day single pitch climbing sort of thing for one of their clients. It was really amazing to kind of like hang back out there. I haven't really worked there for quite a few years now, and it was good to see a lot of old friends that are still knocking about the outdoor scene. Uh, and so yeah, this has got obviously nothing to do with that. It's just thought I'd add that in. It's very nice to be back at work. Although I went tried to go climbing the next day, and yeah, my back pretty much said after like three boulder problems that it probably wasn't a good idea. So I came home after, and that was on the warm up. So like some like V noughts. Anyway, so yeah, there's quite a few interesting things in the news, some of which, if you go back to like the one I did last time, which was a bit of an environmental special, I think I've got some really interesting stuff on on some of the stuff that I covered there, and there's some other stuff as well. Um, so one of the good news stories, I love this. Cinnamon is like a little cat that's been accompanying people along the Appalachian Trail. I'm sure uh, Cinnamon does her guiding work for scraps of food, but who wouldn't want to have Cinnamon as a guide? Probably knows the way better than other people. This other one is a really interesting. Uh, This is a BMC urgent reminder that anyone developing crags or roots within an SSI needs consent before removing vegetation. Now, I think I mentioned this in the last one that there's like a very rare cabbage on the Orme, and climbers have been caught removing it before because they know where every single one is. Um, yeah, it's just quite sad, really, that um, a lot of climbers feel that they have the right to do what they want when they want, where they want. Um, so yeah, it's just a thing like that. So this is another one. It's really tragic. Some uh, climber fell off the Tour Ronde, and what they kind of think happened is the belay that was in place probably was held in by permafrost. Now, I can remember a few years ago when my friend lived in Chamonix, and I went out, and he was really excited for me to get out because we climbed together a lot, and he didn't have many people that he could go into the high mountains to get onto the granite and climb some of the more adventurous routes. And the week that I arrived, I think it was Paul Piana or who lives out there, had put this post up that he'd been on a route and there was a rock fall, which isn't uncommon, but he was like, it wasn't the rock fall, it was the fact that the whole mountain shook as if the permafrost was melting. And as a result, we actually didn't go up into the mountains. We did some sport climbing and stuff nearer the ground or nearer the valley floor. Um, so yeah, it's just another potential. There are a lot of routes now where there's an extra like 30 foot or more of climbing. You remember those photos from before where you could see the glaciers receding. Um, so yeah, you just need to be very careful with these uh, with the melting rock nowadays. So like the permafrost that is holding some of these mountains together is getting less and less permanent. Let's do this one first. What's this? A new study. Oh yeah, so this is like a new study. It says that walking sticks don't necessarily save energy, but they save your legs. It's like I'm pretty sure we knew that they saved your legs like years ago. You can, if you stand on a set of scales and you use two walking sticks, you instantly remove about 10 kilos from your weight. And then, if you're using them effectively, you're definitely helping reduce the impact. So it's like, talk about stating the bleeming obvious. Uh, So this is like a really interesting one. Like in the last news, I found this like video of a tsunami on Greenland, and I was like, tsunamis are generally seismic events, but this one might have been. I don't know. I can't remember when it was. I couldn't be bothered to go back, but in 2023 there was some kind of seismic event that went on, and it kind of caused like a vibration in the earth that was detected everywhere from Antarctica to the Arctic. um, and it turns out that they've done the research, and there was a collapse of a mountain in Greenland into a fjord. If I go down, you can kind of, there's a reasonable graphic here somewhere. He says, yeah, here there was a reasonable so rock slide. It's called the 200-meter high tsunami, and when you get these rock falls into these fjords, they can create massive tsunami events. There was one in Alaska where it was like it took out the trees to like 90 meters above where the sea level normally is or something. But what they believe is this if you get into a bathtub and you slosh the water naturally will naturally swash back and forwards at a it forms a sort of natural vibration. Everything has a harmonic. The biggest tide, I think, is somewhere in Maine in America, and it's got a big inlet. And that inlet, if that was a bath and you sloshed it back and forward, it actually goes just almost in sync with the actual tidal range. So it goes from having virtually no tide to having like a massive, like the biggest tidal range in the world. So anyway, this thing's gone, and this 200-meter high tidal wave has sloshed back and forth in this bay like 10,000 times, and that sloshing back and forwards has actually been seen seismically across the globe. So yeah, when mountains melt and things fall off them, this happens. So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting side. I can't remember what this one is. Oh yeah, that was the actual thing for that. um, and then this guy, apparently he's an indoor climbing expert, has gone on about he thinks climbing has a bouldering problem, and that in that if you go rope climbing, you're taught stuff. You have to be taught how to tie in, belay, and everything before you can actually use the facility. But in bouldering, it's kind of a 3-minute video and off you go, and he thinks it's a bad thing. I kind of read it. I didn't really get what his thesis was, um, other than maybe trying to create some clickbait. But yeah, that's me. And wasn't really sure. And then this last one, I kind of only really want to touch on it. It's local to me. It happened on Saturday. Um, there is very little information on it, but on Saturday, some people were climbing on the Little Ormes. From the description and what's the RNLI have talked about, it sounds like it was at the Diamond. If you don't know what the Diamond is, it's this amazing sport climbing area on the Little Orme. The classic route there was the boat people, because to get into it beforehand, people used to buy little rubber dinghies and just paddle like a couple of 100 meters underneath a cliff to get to the actual beach, which was cut off at high tide, and then at low sort of like tide you could walk in and out. And so to give yourself more time, people would boat in. And then in more recent years, climbers developed a very rudimentary via ferrata. Every year or so they would replace the ropes. I think I haven't been there since for quite a few years now. It's basically a little bit above my pay grade, but I tried to find the post I saw a little while back, and it was somebody mentioned that two of the cables. So there was a bit that was a cable now, not a cable, not rope, and where it. So when you put that cable through a bolt, and you kind of use these bulldog clips to lock it. What you should do is put a thimble, which is like a metal U, so that let's go into. So yes, you put this thimble in that stops the wire. It's sort of bending like this, and so the thing with wire is when if it gets bent round something really small, what it comes down to is the inside circumference of the wire means that the outside circumference becomes longer, and you actually damage the wire. And that's probably what's happened to two of these wires of this wire. And I couldn't find it, but it looked like, certainly when I've inspected, so I used to inspect like high ropes courses and zip wires, and if we found like one wire broken, but you found another wire broken within like a meter, then you'd have to condemn it, because it's very hard to trace to see whether it's the same wire or a different wire. And so yeah, I don't know the actual cause. It could have just been somebody falling, it could have been somebody threaded a lower off, there could have been anything. But I just, having seen that post like in the last couple of weeks, it just popped up on my Facebook newsfeed. I do wonder whether it was a case of the wire has snapped. Either way, it's a massive tragedy. Whilst I don't go there, like loads of my friends do, and so there's no news about who it is. I really hope whoever it is gonna get better. It sounded like very serious injuries, so yeah, my heart goes out to you, and hopefully you will make a good recovery. And that is all of the news, really. I have got plans to come back on later on in the day. Essentially, one of the reasons I like doing this is obviously I'm not working full time at the moment. I'm barely working because of my back. But I've always, when I was working, mentored people, and so I've been playing with a lot of the idea of doing this digitally and putting information out on there. And so I started working through what was my legal and moral talk. So I'd often, when I'm teaching people, I would, if you go on like a mountain leader, a rock climbing instructor, your MCI, there is often an evening session on the legal and moral responsibilities of a climber. And it looks at a lot of case studies. And I started sort of looking through that, and I realized that I was going to go through, there's a lot of stuff that, and last time I did this was like 2010. And so I started doing a little researching, and I am going to do this sort of like legal and moral thing. But I also realized that I have had some near misses, and one of the things is that basically before I start going through and holding a magnifying glass up to other people's mistake, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of show you my mistakes, and certainly the near misses, and the experience of sharing those is very tough. And so what I thought I'd do is kind of do one on the mistakes I've made, why they made them, a little bit of that. I did like a thing on heuristics, like human factors in decision making, and how that can affect, or how that basically can lead to incidents. And so I'm probably gonna sort of have a little bit bite to eat, and then come back on in a little bit and do some talks about learning through my mistakes and near miss reporting. So yeah, hope you kind of enjoyed that, and I shall see you soon. Probably see you soon. Hang on, I've got to find where everything is to stop it